Sorry about the delay. Life in the time of Zoom, I guess. And John and I John Dimling and I are here on Zoom, and the rest of you are in person. So thank you, everybody, for making it here. I guess I'm going to start by getting an approval, if we can, of the minutes for the last meeting, which was June 21st. The minutes were distributed. Do I have a motion? Or I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, Artie, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the motion is approved. The minutes are approved. Okay, so we only have one case tonight. So do we have somebody on that, Sarah?
If you can hit the raise hand button, please, so I can let you know.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Hi, it's Peter McCallick for Strawberry Hill Holdings.
Hello, how are you?
Fine, thanks. How are you?
Good. Why don't you give us your presentation? We'll start there, and then I'm sure we're going to have some questions or some thoughts, but why don't you start off telling us what you're here for?
Okay, sharing my screen now.
Yep, I can see it.
Okay. Well, as I said, I'm here representing Strawberry Hill Holdings, which is the owner of property directly across Strawberry Lane from 76 North Broadway. We are here to challenge WBP's determination of site capacity from May 4th for that property.
Okay, so I'll just interrupt you really quickly. So you're not here for any sort of variance or anything like that. What exactly are you here before us? What kind of relief are you looking for?
I am appealing under the provision of Article 15 of the zoning ordinance that allows an aggrieved party to challenge the outcome of a site capacity determination. So in other words, I am asking for a de novo review of the determination made by the planning board on May 4th.
From us?
That's right.
Yeah, I guess I have my concerns about whether or not we are the right forum for you. I'm not sure this is something we have jurisdiction over. Is there anybody else have any thoughts on that or concerns?
Well, Sarah, I had some concerns, but it sounds like what the representative said. He is saying we do have a jurisdiction here. Is that correct?
Yes, it'll just take a moment, and I'll have the exact language for you. So this is
Sarah,
Yes.
Marianne is on Zoom and she has her hand raised.
Okay, yeah. I would love to hear from her.
I have the language if
Okay, well, I don't know what language he's relying on, but what this is an appeal of a determination by the planning board. And the only way to appeal a determination of the planning board is to bring an Article 78 proceeding. The zoning board has no jurisdiction over to change a decision of the planning board, except in the very narrow circumstance of if hold on, let me find it.
Isn't it upon appeal from a decision by an administrative?
Yeah, well, yeah, well, I mean, what he says is he's seeking to reverse the decision of the planning board.
Right.
And that's done by an Article 78 proceeding.
If I could just interrupt and read the language, this is, I'm quoting now from 483 subsection E.
I'm sorry, 483 subsection E. What's the 483 of? I'm sorry. Of what? Because our zoning code numbers are 224 dash whatever.
Yeah.
Yes. In this case, it's 224-83, paragraph E. If I could just read it, it's captioned appeals. Any appeal from the determination of site capacity by the planning board must be made in the first instance to the zoning board of appeals.
Yeah, but if you go to the section on the powers of the zoning board of appeals, they can give a variance from a determination of site capacity. So that if, the board had decided there's a site capacity of 30 and it was like 30.6, and they often come to the zoning board and say, could you up it to 31? Then that's a variance, but you're not seeking a variance.
That's
You
right.
have to
I'm seeking it.
24-97B, which is the jurisdictional provision. The zoning board only has the powers and duties in 224-97, and that's upon a determination of site capacity to grant a variance. You're not seeking a variance. You're seeking to reverse the planning board's determination.
Okay, I'm just struggling, I think, as other people are, to square what you're saying with the plain meaning of paragraph E, which says any appeal, right? Any appeal from the determination of site capacity.
Yeah, but the
It's not-
authority, the only authority.
I just mean the enacting statute does not limit itself to variances.
But you have to read if there's any, you have to read the two statutes together. And the zoning board has the power, yes, it does have the power of appeal to change a determination of site capacity on appeal by virtue of variance, not to reverse it.
Determination, right. I mean, it's not, and we're also given the power, I guess, I was looking at 224-97 because.
Right, that's what I'm referring to, right?
Right, it doesn't, we can look at appeals from decisions of administration officials, but not from the planning board, is that's how I read it.
It sounds like those two sections are in opposition. Sounds like contradict each other.
I wouldn't say they contradict each other. I mean, it is correct that you can appeal a site capacity determination, but that's if you don't like the site capacity that was granted to you and you want a variance.
Yeah, right.
They can be read together without being in conflict.
Right. Whereas this is asking us for something else. This is asking to grant a different site capacity, not grant a variance for a different site capacity, if you see what I'm saying.
Yes.
Could you read the section I'm sorry, what your name is
Peter.
Michael? Sorry. Could you read that again?
Okay. It,
Peter,
the caption is appeals,
yes,
and it says, any appeal from the determination of site capacity by the planning board must be made in the first instance to the zoning board of appeals. Now, I am reasonably familiar with the village law on this, and as I understand it, appeal here is not limited to simply variances. In fact, I think the use of the word appeal in and of itself suggests that something broader than just the seeking of a variance from a decision is in mind.
Question?
Yeah, I guess what I'm struggling with, and I'd like to hear what other people on the board think about this, is that under the provision which grants the ZBA its various powers, it does not seem like we have the power to do this. We have a power to grant a variance about site capacity, but not to change a determination. So in other words, we can say, okay, the planning board said this is your site capacity. We can give you a bit more because in circumstances, it makes sense. But the way I read it, under our powers given to us under 224-97, we cannot say the planning board was wrong. Here's your site capacity. But I'd love to hear what anybody else on the board has to say about that.
Well, can we just make clear that Mary Ann, she can identify herself that she's counsel to the board? I don't think that's on the
Yes.
record, so.
Sorry, yep, absolutely.
Question? Well, the chair has to recognize you, so you'll have to ask.
Yeah. Go ahead, yes.
Yeah, Mitchell Adler, Riverview Road. Could we hear the exact wording of the part of the regulation that you think contradicts Mr. McCallum?
Are you
The
talking
part
about-
that I
area.
thi- So the part that I'm looking at, upon appeal from a decision by an administrative official. Yeah, all right, let me pull up, hold on, I've got to find. While I'm looking for what I'd like to see, why don't I hear from some of the other board members? If anybody has anything to add to this.
I guess would like to know if there was any cases on point that have ever decided that we have the ability to render the appeal as the
Right.
applicant has suggested.
Yeah, Marianne, would you know anything about any cases on this?
Oh, no, no, I don't. I mean, but I mean, it would be whatever my experience is. I mean, I guess it's for the last, 13 years, I've never, the only times I've seen site capacity matters go to the zoning board is when the applicant wants a greater site capacity than the board granted. Usually, it's usually a pretty technical, they go to 2.9 and that you have to round down to 2 and they say, well, make it 3 in this one, but I don't know, and I'd be very surprised if there were any cases on it. But I can
Yeah.
only vouch for the last 12 years.
Right,
On the application that was filed by the applicant, I noticed for the first time, it looked like there as a choice, you could check a box that says I don't have the wording. I wish I'd printed it out. I can't get to it now. But the page that I'm talking about, it's like the second or third page in the filing.
Yeah, the one that says interpretation or variance.
Right.
I've got the application here, yeah.
Right. I'd never paid any attention to that. And I think they were looking for an interpretation, not a variance, right?
Well,
Right,
that's-
but John, the language of the statute is relatively clear with respect to interpretation, right? So in 224-97, where the powers and duties of the zoning board of appeal are enumerated, okay, we only have the right to interpretation upon appeal from a decision by an administrative official, not by the planning. The planning board is not an administrative official. All
I'm
our
not-
other
I'm not
powers-
arguing
all
one
of our-
way, that, I'm not arguing one
All
way
of our other
or the
powers,
other.
John, all of our other powers are restricted to variances. The only interpretation power we have is with respect to an administrative official. And the planning board does not qualify as such.
Understood. I just, I'm not arguing one way or the other. I was just struck by the fact that what was being asked for was an interpretation, not a variance.
Right. Right. I mean, that's, I think Charlie's kind of hit the nail on the head for me as to why I don't think we have jurisdiction on this. But again, anybody else who'd like to pipe in, I'd love to hear what you have to think, what you think about it.
Well, I'm with you, Sarah. I don't think this is in our jurisdiction at all.
Right. Yeah.
Well, have we not been given a legal opinion now that says it's not in our jurisdiction?
Question?
That
Um,
is my opinion, if that's what you're asking.
Right. Yes. That's
But I
what
mean,
that,
up until now, nobody's asked for my opinion, but that is my opinion.
right.
Well, I think we ought to have a legal opinion here. I don't know why we're debating this. It seems to me it's a question of legally what we can do.
Well, I did send you that. I sent an opinion around
Yes.
about a month ago, I think.
Yep.
I sent it to you, Sarah. I believe
Yep.
you passed it on to the board on July 19th.
Yes. Yep. Maybe John didn't get it. Did the rest of you get that opinion?
Do you,
Yeah.
Yeah.
do you want me to read, John, do you want me to read it? It's not very long.
No, that's okay. It just says what you've said tonight, right?
Yes.
The essence is that we do
Yes.
not have jurisdiction here. Is that correct?
Yes.
That seems to me to end the question, doesn't it?
Well, I would appreciate seeing a copy of that legal opinion if the village attorney doesn't mind disclosing that.
I don't, if the board's okay with it, I can't, if the board wants to waive the attorney-client, yeah, I'm glad to send it on. Sarah?
That seems reasonable to me, but I want to get everybody else's opinion on that.
As long as it's limited just to that one document and no other conversation between us and council.
Right. Yep, that's fine by me.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay,
We should
great.
make the motion, right?
Sure.
And if I wanted to give feedback on that opinion, what would be the proper way of doing that?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. I have never myself
Maybe-
experienced
maybe-
this, so I'm
maybe-
not sure.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
No,
You
no,
might
go
want to
ahead.
consider adjourning it, and if you want to submit something in writings for our consideration at the next meeting, I mean, that's his right to do so. We don't want to cut him off, obviously.
Right, yeah. I agree. I think maybe, why don't we make a motion to release that one letter that Marianne, I will make that motion in a moment. Marianne wrote to us so that they can see it and then adjourn this until September. Does that make sense? And they'll have time to respond to it.
But if he does that, to the extent that we should give him a date that he has to write his position and then give Marianne and the village a week or two
Right.
to apply, so that by the time we sit next time, we have both sides fully
Right.
briefed.
Just so, Sarah, just so you know, at the time, and that opinion is based on Mr. McCallick's application for an interpretation. It's
Right.
tonight that he's making a different argument, that he's not actually filing for an interpretation, he's filing for an appeal. And so it does not deal, so this opinion does not deal with this other issue of the two, the other section from the planning board part of the code. It doesn't deal with that because there wasn't the issue. I was dealing with an interpretation. But if, I suppose, if he makes that argument, then we have a chance to respond, if you're giving us a chance, you know, to submit responding papers. When's the next zoning board meeting?
September 27th.
Okay,
It's a nice, it's a nice long stretch. So we have, 6 weeks? So what do we think? Should we set up a schedule? Does that make sense?
Yeah, suggest September 13th for
Mhm.
Peter's submission, and Mary Ann could do it the day before. But if it's the 27th, give it to us by the 26th or 25th. That would be a Sunday, I would guess, but maybe that Friday before, if that's enough time for you, Mary Ann.
yeah. So you say, Peter's papers would be September 13th?
Yep.
And then, I have my calendar in front of me.
Yours would be maybe the 23rd. Is that enough time?
I'll do it. If I can't, I'll let you know. But that should be okay.
Okay. Okay. So, I make a motion to, I still think we should release that letter just so he can have a look at that.
Yeah, I'll do that as soon as the meeting's over.
Okay, great. So I'm gonna make a motion that we
Just
release.
one more suggestion, Sarah,
Oh, yeah,
maybe.
sure. Yep.
You know, so I know the last submission we got yesterday was 131 pages. Can we
Right.
ask Peter to maybe limit it to
today,
today it was, I'm sorry. Maybe
Yeah.
limit this to 2 pages if he would. Peter, is that gonna be enough?
I'm having a little trouble hearing you, sir. Could you repeat that?
I was gonna suggest to the chair that she asked that you limit your submission to 10 pages.
Oh, of course, sure.
Yep. Okay, so I'm gonna make a motion that we release the letter that Mary Ann has written to us. That the applicants have until September 13th to give a no longer than 10-page. I don't know if you could call it an answer, but more of sort of make an argument to us about why we have jurisdiction here. And then that'll give Mary Ann time to respond to that, hopefully by September 23rd.
I
Okay.
second the motion.
Excellent. Let's go. Artie,
Yes.
Rosie,
Yes.
Charlie,
Yes.
Judd,
Yes.
John,
Yes,
and I say yes. So let's do that and we'll reconvene on September 27th. All righty. So I think with nothing else in front of us, that will be it for tonight. And I thank everybody for coming out in August. We'll see you in September.
and feel better, Sarah.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, Sarah.